big dick energy. Cthulhu live in studio with Duran Durant, who was supposed to be on. Doran Durant, sorry. Supposed to be on, but like a faggot, I canceled. Duran was supposed to be on. Doran was supposed to be on the 1 year. And fuck it, no, you're Duran. He was supposed to be on the 1 year anniversary, December 12th, but because I'm a fucking flake, I canceled.
No, I thought we canceled because of my finals. So that was my
Oh, sure,
bad.
I'll pass the buck. I don't care. Yeah, sure, we canceled because of your finals, not because of me being a flake. But before we even start, now I gotta. I used to do this just for shits and giggles, but now God, my breath's terrible. But now I gotta actually do it. I used to always say where this podcast is available. BitChute, Rumble. It was available on VO and DTube, but I think I maxed out the data I could use. But now I'm going to go back and I guess actually start purchasing data, and that is because I had my first podcast yanked by YouTube. Episode 288 with Don the Pleb and Joe Tedeye. Cross the Rubicon, about the coming revolution and the attempt at a communist takeover of America, and how it's time to act. There's no more lines to draw in the sand. There is a wall that we cannot back up further against, and if we don't fight before we're up against the wall, we're going to be literally up against the wall and have our brains blown out or work to death in gulags. So, episode 288 was taken down, but only the HD version, because for whatever reason I uploaded two versions of that podcast, which sometimes I do that for no reason other than I'm kind of bored.
Yeah.
The standard definition's still up, 288, which now I'm sure as of saying this it will be taken down, but so the podcast is available on Rumble and BitChute. You can now, I'm kind of honored that I got an episode yanked, but the podcast will not go find that episode somewhere else. So I'm going to start going scorched earth, and I'm going to upload this podcast on every fucking platform. I've been passively uploading it on like other platforms. I'm now going full military operation. I'm going to upload it on every goddamn video hosting platform on the internet. And I've already begun sending hard drives to friends where I'm like, just take this and put it in your closet that has all 295 episodes on it. I haven't shut up yet. Duran, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? I mean, other than the commies and the election and everything.
other
How
than
you doing?
other than the fall of an empire and the last stand against the Communist Party, doing good, man. Brother just got home. I began my Christmas feasting about 2 days ago, just fucking eating like a gluttonous pig, and I'm gonna really turn up a notch tonight and just stuff my fat fucking face with. I can feel the weight already. I can just feel my titties getting bigger, and but I don't think there's any way around it. I think you just kind of lead into Christmas.
Yeah, you
Just
kind of got to lean into it, don't you?
yeah, for years in college, I tried to fight it and like diet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was just miserable. And now I'm like, hey, starting around like the day before Thanksgiving until about New Year's, just accept that you're gonna put on like a hearty 5 pounds at least, possibly
Yeah.
10,
Yeah.
possibly 10, more likely 10. Yeah, I don't drink, so that removes a lot of the weight gain. But
Oh, really? Drinking makes you gain a lot of weight, or?
well, no, that's just excessive calories. It's just even more calories. So instead of
Yeah,
drinking,
yeah. I see.
yeah. So yeah, but I'm yeah, um, I'm going to decentralize the podcast as much as I can. And if I have to pay for other services, I think I'm going to start forking out cash. And because it's begun, it happened. Started 2 years ago with banning Alex Jones, and it has everyone called it, and it's coming down, and it's trickling down to you and me. I have finally got my first episode yanked, episode 288. So
Yeah,
fuck,
censorship isn't a good thing, man. Yeah,
it's
it's
not good for anybody.
no, that's yeah,
I like that chair, man.
yeah, it's a comfy chair.
Looks fucking dope.
It's a really comfy chair. I'm actually at my parents' house right now.
Nice. Me too,
Yeah,
as always.
Yeah, I got this big dick poster right behind me. And flashlight.
Oh shit, is that your research?
Yeah,
Yeah, nice. I remember
yeah.
making that. I remember making those for toxicology. Um,
Toxicology?
yeah,
Yeah.
Valdosta, I did research in aquatic toxicology. I wanted to blow my brains out.
What were you researching?
Well, I was doing it just to get a publication so I could get into med school. But I did it under Dr. Gretchen Bielmeyer at Valdosta. She's a super brilliant woman. Did the effects of salinity on nickel toxicity to the two Uralian fish species Cryptolebius marmoratus and Fungulus heteroclitus, and it was all about the effects of salinity on nickel toxicity. How if you had more salt water, if you had certain like different concentrations of ions and shit, that the fish could withstand like direct nickel poisoning more. What was the purpose of this? Who the fuck knows? But it helped me get into med school. What do you
Oh,
think
that's
is gonna?
interesting.
Did you watch that video?
Oh, Trump ad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I thought it was uploaded yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. You lying to me, Darian?
The one, because he's talking about voter fraud, isn't he?
It's the plot to steal America. It's I don't expect you to watch it. It's a 17-minute video. That's definitely I don't watch anything when people send it to me, so I don't fault you at all. I don't
Yeah,
give it.
didn't he post something on Twitter, like something about this? There's like a video, like the starting's exactly the same.
Oh yeah, well that might be okay. It probably is then. But yeah,
Yeah, so I've seen that on Twitter. I haven't seen the
okay,
17-minute video though.
okay. Well
Like I
then,
saw the start of it and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this, but
okay.
it's
Then,
not.
then you have no, no. I think you have. I think it's probably a compilation then. But it's. I'm so happy he finally because I've been like freaking out internally. I'm like, does
Yep.
no one? I'm like, does no one see what's coming? Like, this isn't. We'll get him in 2024. No, this is the CCP wrapping its fucking Cthulhu tentacles around you.
Oh man.
There's no. When Muhammad Atta hijacks your plane and starts flying it at the North Tower, you don't go next flight. We're gonna stand up to him. It's over. You're hitting the facade of the North Tower at 400 miles an hour, and you're going to blow into a ball of jet fuel. There's no next flight. Well, I'm not choosing United Airlines next time. No, you're going
Yeah.
into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. There is no. They think they're going to drop a nuke on Hiroshima. When the fire clears, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. No, your mind is going to be the neurons, the protein is going to be ionized and in the stratosphere within 30 minutes. There's no tomorrow. So,
Yeah, I was having a conversation with a buddy, or a friend last night, and I was talking about the coronavirus, and I was like, yeah, so there's a paper in 2016 that got flagged, and basically, the Chinese were trying to increase affinity for the ACE protein, and so it got flagged in like 2016, and now we have coronavirus, and it's like, okay, well, like, what protein does it attach to?
yeah,
Oh, so the
that one.
ligand is exactly what the research they were doing.
Yeah.
And so it was like I was talking to her and I was like, it's actually not that far fetched to
It's not
say
at all. It's not at
that
all.
it was a bioweapon. And I was like, the thing that scares me is if we like fully realize that it's a bioweapon, like what our government would do next. That's what scares me because you already know those fuckers have polio or weaponized, in the
All of
labs
them.
in Denver. Like you
Yeah.
already know what
Well,
kind of bioweapons they have. Like it's
I truly believe that COVID wasn't the end all bioweapon because it's not that lethal. And that's not to demean anyone that's lost a family member, but I mean a 99.97% survival rate, that's not an effective bioweapon. What it is it's like running through a shooting course with like blanks. Like you're learning how it works before you put in the real ammo. I think that this was like recon.
yeah.
How does the world
How
respond?
does
Oh,
Yeah, how do these, how long does it take them to get an effective vaccine out?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, right. It's like
yeah.
launching missiles. We put dummy warheads in missiles before we perfect the missile.
Well, it's like for the past couple years, it's kind of seemed like we've been in an arms race with our biotechnology between the East and the
Been
West.
going on since the '70s, man.
Yeah, that's what scares the
That's the
nation. I
thing.
mean, nukes are one thing, man. Like nukes are terrifying.
Yeah,
But bioweapons, like that's to me, that's even more terrifying.
I think it's. I think it's. I will always say that there's nothing more terrifying than nuclear weapons. And I've thought about this. So hear me out.
Yeah.
The way they're launched from these hardened bunkers that cannot be taken out by nuclear weapons. These things go into orbit. These things aren't artillery. They're not missiles launched from. They're not hypersonic missiles. Hypersonic, that's the new big one, right? Hypersonic, that's Mach 5. And we're just now kind of mastering hypersonic. These go Mach 23. Mach 23. They come in from orbit. They go up. When the final stage breaks off, the bus, the BUS is what it's called, the bus opens up and it's like a shotgun and it releases MIRVs, MIRV, multiple independent reentry vehicles. Some of them have warheads, some of them don't. They're just decoys, so you don't even know which one you need to shoot down. They come down, they don't come down at an angle, they come down almost vertically on their target. So you can't even, you're not aiming at something in the, like skeet shooting. You're aiming at something coming directly straight down at you. They come in at Mach 23. You cannot hit them. Even if you manage to hit them, each one of these has multiple megatons, thousands of times more powerful than the ones that leveled Hiroshima. And it's a shotgun blast, each one. So even if it's an airburst, which a lot of them are designed to do, but even if it's up there, you're still going to be destroyed. These are going to vaporize everything. And that's just one missile with one shotgun blast. There's about 35,000 on each side. All right? Even if the bomb goes off in the atmosphere, you're still going to get third degree burns. You're going to get radiation poisoning. First of all, there's going to be an EMP blast, which knocks out all electronics. So everything from 911 services, call an ambulance, every hospital, every generator, every EKG machine, dead. You're instantly back in the Stone Age. Radiation poisoning, which your body starts falling apart from the inside. You start bleeding out of your eyes and ears over 24 to 36 hours. Your actual veins, the structure of your veins and arteries is compromised. It breaks apart. So that means even if you inject morphine, your circulatory system can't put it throughout your body because it's like Swiss cheese. So you can't even get pain relief. So the only way out is a shotgun or a bullet to the head. Okay, there's no, and not only that, now that we've taken civilization back to the Stone Age, simple things like a flu, that was actually part of the thing, is after you do a nuclear strike, then you release things like COVID. Or not even that, because that was just a trial run. Actual fucking hardcore shit like smallpox, bubonic plague, everything, right? It doesn't, you cannot top nuclear warfare. Everything's done. Instant firestorms that become self-sustaining. They blot out the sun. They drop the global temperature. The only way you can survive is in a bunker underground with it's buttoned up, where you get all of your resources from yourself. You don't take in anything from the outside. Nothing is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. And there's sort of a beauty to it because everyone knows that it can't be won. There's no winning. So that's why they're not used. Bioweapons, I'll agree with you. Okay, maybe are more terrifying because they're just they're just what am I looking for? Nuclear warfare is instant, it's an instant 10. It's instant hell. Bioweapons are like a 7, so you might actually use them. It's so I could okay, I see what you're saying. They maybe are more terrifying because they might be used. They're not as lethal.
Well, the thing that scares me with bioweapons, man, is their ability to spread. Because when you launch a nuke, it hits a certain area, and
Yeah,
maybe that area is miles wide. But when you have a really infectious and deadly virus, man, that can spread across the country
the
in a
globe.
few short months. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we've seen with COVID, the globe.
Yeah.
And so it's like it'll kill more people than nukes did.
Yeah. Actually,
Especially when you say, you nuke them and then you release all that shit. Yeah, like they're done. That's what
there's
scares
no
me.
there's no winning.
Yeah,
No, we have perfected warfare. We
yeah, it's Did you see that thing from what was it? The Israeli Minister of Space or something? He was like,
That
"Yeah,
there's a
we
galactic
talked."
federation.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it, man. I
So
believe
do
it.
I. So do I. I don't even try to put on like a face of like moderation anymore. I'm like, fuck it, I believe it. Wouldn't it make sense that they're looking at us with these nuclear weapons and bioweapons and they're going, these guys aren't ready. They're not ready for dark matter warp drive engines. They're not ready to be part of our civilization. They're looking at us just like we look at the mountains of Afghanistan. And we're like, these fucks are still killing each other's daughters because someone's great grandmother was part of a different tribe. We're like, they're not ready for subways and iPhones. Sure. Galactic Federation is like, these guys are not ready for faster than light travel.
Yeah.
They're like, these fucks are gonna they're gonna give us, they're looking at us and they're like, we're gonna give them these weapons, and they're immediately gonna be like, let's go take out the fucking center of the Galactic Federation so we can put in our own puppet government. They're like, no, fuck these guys. And you know what? I agree with it.
Yeah, yeah, humanity is something else, man.
Yeah, you know what? I'm for the Galactic Federation quarantining us. They are, and I'm for it.
They're probably protecting us in a certain way too. We probably don't even realize it.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
There's
probably some other alien race looking at our
probably some
planet
bad
like,
actors out there.
yeah, they're probably like, ooh, yeah, look at all that that
Oh,
water.
yeah, right. It's probably there probably is a planet Earth like civilization out there that did manage to sort of they did do a successful CCP takeover and they've become a spacefaring species. They didn't need to join the Galactic Federation. They went out and did it on their own. And I hope that there is a Galactic Federation that's like, you can't go pick on these little planets. But I mean, I don't know. A great analogy I heard was we tend to, at least I do, we look at these, right, these supposed galactic civilizations and we're like, they're so advanced, they're so noble, right? They probably don't do, but think if you went back to like 1000 AD, right? Or even 500 years ago, where like the hottest thing was the Sistine Chapel. And you were like, look at this Shure MV51 microphone. Look at this box fan. Look at this digitally printed sweater. Look at these glasses. Look at this iPhone. You don't even know what this is. I can look at your house on Google Earth. Oh, you still think the world's flat? No, it's a globe, bitch. Like, here's some penicillin. Look at this. Boobs, Pamela Anderson. In the future, you can just make them bigger. You can just, right? They would be like, oh my, like average lifespan would be like 80, 90. Dental work. Look at, like, they'd be like, holy shit, like well nourished. I have muscle mass for recreation. I built it because I was like, maybe it'll help me get laid, right? Bottled water. They would be like, oh my God. Look at my bed. The germ theory with disinfectants, plumbing, air conditioning, heating. They'd be like, that is Shangri-La. You're in heaven. And I'd be like, fuck yeah. They'd be like, you are advanced. And I would be like, fuck yeah. And they'd be like, you guys must be so noble. You probably don't have any war. I'd be like, okay, not really. They'd be like, what? I'd be like, actually, there's more slaves now than at any point in human history. They'd be like, what? And I'd be like,
Is there?
yeah, there are more slaves.
So I was reading,
Mostly human.
because I didn't think that
That's no, that's
India,
true. More now.
I I didn't think that countries like India had like millions of slaves, but apparently they do.
Yeah, they got 1.3 billion people, man. Even
Yeah,
if
they got
1/1000th of them are slaves, that's a million.
yeah, they have like 3 million of them
Yeah.
slaves. Then China has slaves. Like honestly, if you were to take out the CCP, that whole region would be the same. It's just a culture there, man.
Oh no, yeah, you can't. It's like what Castro said about why he didn't kill Kennedy. He's like, I'm not against individuals. I'm against systems. He's like, you kill Kennedy. He's like, "Just another guy has taken the place." It's true. It was LBJ, right? Hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? It's the same thing. It's, but that's an analogy I always think of. Is like, you show them this god tier technology, I wake up out of I just took a hot shower, hot water on demand. I just shaved, took a multivitamin. I just got more vitamins in a pill that cost a quarter of a penny each, not even a tenth of a penny each, than you'll get in a week of the best dining. And now I'm doing a podcast with my friend Duran, who I've never even met in real life, but we're buddies and we have thousands of hours of texting and conversation. Wow, you guys are, and after that, I got a 4K. My brother just got here for Christmas. Religious freedom. How did he get here? He got on this machine and it uses oil, and he can just go at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour faster than your stupid fucking horses. And it's got a windshield and a radio. What's a radio? So someone's voice from hundreds of miles away can just be beamed into his car. And he's in a leather seat in a little cabin that also has air conditioning and heating. And he can recline it. And on the way, he can stop at these normalized, homogenized fast food restaurants where he can get the same burger here that he can on the other side of the world. And there's police, and there are traffic cameras and lights. And oh, how do you drive fast without dying? Oh, well, we realized that you couldn't just do that on the normal earth and the landscape. So we just bulldozed thousands of miles of land and put these straight paths, and we call them highways. And he just got here. Why? Christmas, why not? Come on down. It wasn't even a big thing. It wasn't even like that was some kingly technology. Actually, driving isn't solely becoming a thing of peasants, because now we're going on a self-driving cars. Wow, that's insane. Yeah, you guys must be just a utopia. Ah, actually, about that. Actually, we are now visiting more death and destruction than ever. True, there has been less human deaths from war, both percentage and gross numbers, every year since 1945. So all human history, it went up, and then 1945, it starts on August 9th, 1945, after the Nagasaki nuke. It has been going down in a steady stream, including Korea, Vietnam. It has been going down in a steady stream ever since. That is true. But
You know, what's really interesting is how the world changed after World War One. Because, you know, you think about World War Two and it's so obvious, but like after World War One, like I don't know, it's just different. You know what I mean?
yeah, hold on.
Because it's like,
I drank a lot of water, so I'm going to be taking a probably the most piss breaks of any podcast ever. Duran monologue.
yeah, it's like World War One. Like prior to it, you had like kings, and then you had the feudal system, and you had all that. And then after World War One, like it was pretty much the end of colonialism. And so that I want to say that whole system was like really in depth, like a part of the world for for the longest time. I mean, centuries. And then after World War One, everybody was kind of like, yeah, we're done with that. And it was because of the West. You had countries like the U.S., which were really against colonialism at the time. And then you had other powers which were like, fuck yeah, like we like colonialism. We like going into nations and just taking shit for free, basically. Yeah, if we have the power, we can just take it. But nowadays, like, you can't just go to Afghanistan and take their oil. Like, it just doesn't work that way anymore. And a lot of people don't realize that. So, you know, you always hear, oh, yeah, well, the only reason we're in the Middle East is for their resources. And it's like, no, sorry, that's not right.
Um, yeah, how everything changed after World War One.
Yeah, I was talking about like the colonialism, like how it kind of died off after World War One, and how it used to be that you can just go in their country and take their shit, right? Now, like you hear everybody say, "Oh yeah, the reason we went to war in the Middle East is for their oil." And it's like you can't just go in a country and forcefully take shit these days. Like it doesn't work that way.
I was gonna say, Smedley Butler. Have you ever heard the "War is a Racket" speech?
No.
Smedley Butler was the most decorated Marine in U.S. history. He entered as an enlisted man in like the late 1890s and went on to become a major general. He became FDR's buddy. I think he retired in like 1933. Um, he kind of explained how imperialism didn't stop. It's
Really?
fuck. Hold on, I almost got it. War is a racket speech. Come on. Speech. War is a racket. Oh, come on. Fuck. Duran, fill the time.
Uh, I really just want to be the first dude to fuck an alien chick. I'm trying to be.
That's
I'm
all you
trying to be 8 inches in that alien pussy.
got. Okay. Well, thank you. Um, okay. Smedley Butler on interventionism. This speech is so badass. It's like
Is
the
it?
original military-industrial complex speech. He
Oh,
beat Eisenhower by 20 years. All right.
really?
Smedley Butler on intervention. He has a book called War's a Racket. It's only an hour on Audible. I bought it. I haven't listened to it yet. Excerpt from a speech delivered in 1933 by Major General Smedley Butler, USMC. War is just a racket. War is just a racket. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small inside group know what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the masses. I believe in adequate defense at the coastline and nothing else. If a nation comes over here to fight, then we'll fight. The trouble with America is that when the dollar only earns 6% over here, then it gets restless and goes overseas to get 100%. Then the flag follows the dollar and the soldiers follow the flag. I wouldn't go to war again as I have done to protect some lousy investment of the bankers. There are only two things we should fight for. One is the defense of our homes, and the other is the Bill of Rights. War, for any other reason, is simply a racket. There isn't a trick in the racketeering bag that the military gang is blind to. It has its quote fingermen to point at the enemies, its quote muscle men to destroy the enemies, its quote brain men to plan war preparations, and a quote big boss super nationalistic capitalism. It may seem odd for me, a military man, to adopt such a comparison. Truthfulness compels me to. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service as a member of this country's most agile military force, the Marine Corps. I served in all commission ranks, from second lieutenant to major general. And during that period, I spent most of my time being a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, for bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I suspected I was just part of a racket at the time. Now I am sure of it. Like all the members of the military profession, I never had a thought of my own until I left the service. My mental faculties remained in suspended animation while I obeyed the orders of higher ups. This is typical with everyone in the military service. I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of a half dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. The record of racketeering is long. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1909 to 1912. I bought light I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests in 1916. In China, I helped to see it was Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. During those years, I had, as the boys in the back room would say, a swell racket. Looking back on it, I feel that I could have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was to operate a racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. Smedley Butler, 1933.
Damn.
Mic drop. It's a little,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
You
a
don't
little
want to think
scary.
about it, but yeah, I
No,
mean, those guys have a lot of control. Those
you
bankers.
just want to look away from it, but it turns out to be awfully true, and it's terrifying.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrifying. It's Here's another one. It's a much shorter quote. It's like 10 seconds. Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacture are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked. No, I don't want to watch on Facebook. So interlocked, so complete, so pervasive that they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. Woodrow Wilson. They're all talking to this, and then obviously Eisenhower's speech. They're all talking to this thing. There's this dark Cthulhu like. Is it Cthulhu or Cthulhu?
Cthulhu.
There's a Cthulhu like creature that you can only get these hints from every once in a while. Eisenhower, Woodrow Wilson, Smedley Butler, JFK. There exists a plot in this nation, or there exists a plot to enslave every man, woman, and child on the planet, and I intend to use this high and noble office to expose it. You get these like, you get these whispers 30, 40 years apart, and you can kind of just, right? You can kind of piece it together, right? It's like when you see different camera angles of 9/11 and you can start to slowly like piece it, you can get timestamps on thing, you can almost like remodel this 3D image of what happened. You can kind of get this 1919 Woodrow Wilson, 1933 Smedley Butler, I think 1960 Eisenhower, 63 JFK. You can just start to see this thing and you barely touch it, but it's just on the outside. You get what I'm saying? You can kind of, it's like when you put a coin under a piece of paper and then you take like a pencil and you draw over it, you can very lightly get the silhouette of it, but then it disappears. That's what there is. There's this
Silhouette.
there's this
Yeah.
demon, and I haven't gotten down the rabbit hole yet, but I'm gonna start going down the Federal Reserve rabbit hole, which you'd think I would have gone down by now, but I haven't.
Ah, that rabbit hole. I've heard plenty of stories, man, but I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. And I hear that is a very sketchy rabbit hole
I've
because it like
apparently it's the bottom pit in which all rabbit holes lead to.
yes.
It's the fucking cavern that they all empty out into.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. Apparently, like our fiat currency and everything.
Yeah.
Like I want you to imagine if we never went off of gold currency, like what the standard of living would be right now.
You know what's kind of weird though? Is Smedley Butler was he was approached in 1933, sometime after he gave that speech, by a group of men funded by who else but J.P. Morgan and Prescott Bush, who's his son George H.W. Bush and grandson George W. Bush. These guys that got rich off Prescott Bush, you may know, is getting rich off of financing the I don't know, Nazis. They approached who else but Smedley Butler, and they wanted to overthrow the White House. It's called the business plot. Capital B, capital P. It was we never get taught about it in school, but it was a business plot. It was an attempted fascist coup to take over the White House and overthrow FDR. But it gets a little hairy because as I learned more about it, and obviously Smedley Butler was just this like stand-up Chad of an American, because they approached him and instead of saying no, that's like immoral, he went along with it just to figure out what the plot was and then exposed it. Just total like James Bond move. Like
Oh, yeah.
Smedley Butler had a dick 15 feet long. But the thing is what they wanted was the people that JP Morgan and Prescott Bush hired were these independently wealthy guys, not nearly as wealthy as them. They were wealthy in the same way Joe Rogan is wealthy to Elon Musk. He's worth about 1/1000th of what Musk is worth. So these
Yeah.
guys got these other wealthy guys. They had fortunes of around $30 million in the 30s, which is big dick money. But their backers were worth hundreds of billions. But they went and got these guys who were veterans because they knew Smedley Butler was very sympathetic and empathetic to veterans. He'd go around the country, he would visit all the veteran hospitals. It was just always like because he didn't go he wasn't like an elitist brass. He went through the ranks. That's what made him such a badass. He's not. He'd be like if you like joined Walmart as like a cashier and then became the CEO. Like that's what Smedley Butler did. And they approached him and they wanted him to overthrow FDR. But at first because Smedley Butler was smart, he's waited around and figured out over months of meeting what this was really about. But at first they approached him and they said, we want you to basically help lead a fight with the bonus army. The bonus army is like the portion of the 12 million unemployed who were mostly veterans after World War One, who weren't getting their promised paychecks from the government, who were trying to fuck them out of it. Right? That's a story as old as time. Government not helping out the veterans after the war. But Smedley Butler, like, he was their boy. They all loved, because a lot of them followed him into war. Like, he truly was like a guy of the people. And but they tried to trickle Smedley, old Smedley Butts, and I'm sorry, Smedley Butler. Show him some respect. They tried to trick him by saying, "Hey, we want you to help." Basically, they didn't say overthrow FDR. They're like, "We want to help appoint." I think they called it a chief general of the United States, and so that the president would just be a figurehead. And they're like, "Well, FDR's old. He's tired. He needs help," right? Which is just awesome, like euphemistic bullshit. Build back better, the Great Reset. No, it's not. It's not. It's all the same horseshit. But they wanted to do that, and they wanted Smedley Butler to lead. Why did they want Smedley Butler? But why did they want Smedley Butler to lead? Great question, Duran, and I will now tell you why. Because they knew they couldn't get the bonus army to follow them, because the bonus army looked at these rich fucks and they were like, dude, we just want money for like soup and socks, and here are these guys rolling around in like Rolls Royces and like penthouses on like Madison Avenue. They wanted Smedley because they knew that they knew that the rich guys knew that the poor soldiers would follow Smedley, right? The way they pitched it to Smedley was, we want them to get their bonuses, right? The billionaires get these millionaires who were legitimate veterans, but they went to the dark side. So Smedley listened to them. It was a beautifully orchestrated plan. And they said, these millionaire veterans came to Smedley and they said, we want you to help push out FDR so that we can get the bonus for these soldiers. Okay, sounds good. We want you to, what they really wanted though, was we want you to help push out FDR because FDR is removing the gold backing of our fiat currency. They didn't tell that to him though. They said, or they did. They said the reason we want that is so that the soldiers' bonuses aren't inflated and then devalued. What they really wanted was, on behalf of J.P. Morgan and Prescott Bush, was to put the dollar to be once again backed by gold. Smedley saw through it and he was like, that's not what you want. You don't actually want the bonus for the troops. You don't give a fuck about whether their thing is devalued. You just want gold to replace the dollar, or to go back to the dollar. But the thing is like, I don't agree with the whole plot to overthrow FDR, but like, that part isn't that bad. Like, I'm kind of like, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, wait, that wasn't a bad thing. If they hadn't got greedy and said, and then we also want to overthrow FDR, that might have been a good thing to go along with. That was a really long, convoluted explanation. And as Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't truly understand it. So that means I haven't truly understood it yet. But it's this weird interweaving of like good and bad. It's bad that they wanted to establish a fascist dictatorship in the United States, and they told Smedley that he could be top dog. But it's good that they wanted to put gold back to, and why did all these rich guys want it? Because they didn't want their fortunes turned to nothing. So it's kind of a weird, what's good and what's wrong, what's right and wrong, what's bad and good. You look like your eyes are glazing over. I'm sorry if I'm boring you.
What?
I said you look like your eyes are glazing over. I'm sorry if I'm putting you to sleep.
Oh no. No, I thought that was really interesting though.
Isn't it a little fucking? But to what you're saying,
Yeah.
gold? No, because right now it's just doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything, right? We'll just print money. Everyone gets $600. Everyone gets $2,000.
Yeah, what's $600 gonna do, dude? Like that won't even cover people's rents.
It won't even cover people's rent for a month.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I mean, I don't understand, man. Like there's a
Just
lot of
open up
people
the fucking
suffering right
country.
now.
Just open up the. They're like, well, how are we gonna write more money? Don't write more money. Just open up the fucking country. Stop this whole. You know what it is? It's the slow rollout of socialism. depend on the government for everything. You can't go to work. If you're lucky, we're going to throw you $600 every 9 months. I mean, isn't the poverty line $26,000 a year?
It's like 34.
34? Okay. Well, with this check, if they happen to get this check to every American in the next 7 days, which they won't, but even if they did, that means that they will have effectively doled out $1,800 in the year of 2020. That is 1/20th of the poverty line.
You know, it's so stupid to me, man, because we have the money to like end poverty, but like we just like our programs like aren't made it to end poverty. It's made to get them addicted.
Yeah.
Like because like you look at Scandinavian countries and you're like, okay, how come they have such good programs? You know, they have really good socialized medicine programs, like really the hardcore left stuff that we bitch about here in America. But it's like
They do
they
it
have
well.
it for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
They have it to actually help people.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because their government, like they have so much transparency with their government that the corruption in the Scandinavian countries is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah. And it's always easy to harp on them because it's like, oh, is that your liberal wet dream to go live in a Nordic country? But I mean, you gotta give credit where credit's due. Like they pull it off.
They do. They do a good job of it. And like I said, it's because they have such a transparent government that they don't have to worry about, you know,
But
becoming
then,
slaves.
but it's also, and this is obviously an easy argument and obviously unbiased. But it's also easy to do those things when the U.S. government is world police and you don't have to throw in $1 trillion a year for defense. It's easier
Yeah,
when
it's
your
true.
nation has 3 million people and not a quarter billion. Places
Yeah.
like Japan, everyone's like Japan, like it's run so smoothly, it's so homogenized, everything works well. Well, one, they have the highest suicide rate in the world, so not really. But two, it's because they're racist as fuck. And if you're not Japanese, you can't come. Like they I think they let in, it was like 2018 or something, they let in 4 Muslim refugees from the big refugee wave of the 2016 and 17, which is
Yeah,
actually
we let in a lot more than four.
no, Japan.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh
was
yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah,
like Europe got like overrun, right? Germany, France,
yeah,
all those countries, and we're now seeing the Nordic countries get overrun, right? Now you have places like Malmo, Sweden, or Switzerland, Sweden, that used to be beautiful. They used to have that twisting tower. It was like a beautifully architecture piece. Malmo is now a no-go zone because if you go there, you'll just be raped in the street by Muslims and then cut to pieces. There's grenade attacks. They actually now have like a registry for grenade attacks. When was that even a statistic? But now it is because there are grenade attacks from the religion of peace. But
well, it's
Japan,
like I think the problem I see with there is you have a lot of European populism, and you can see like left stream pick up on this populism. They especially have picked it up on it since Trump has been elected because they like to use it against him.
mhm,
But I think there's a growing sediment of anti-Semitism in the left because it's always exists in the right.
into what?
Anti-Semitism.
Semitism? Like
Yeah,
against Jews?
yeah,
Okay. Sorry,
yes,
I didn't hear it. The audio cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
yeah. Well, like they're like it's almost like they're excusing it, right? They're like, oh, if you don't like this, then you're racist, or if you don't like Sharia law, then you're this or you're that or you're the other thing. It's like,
Mhm.
no, dude, like I don't think you understand that these guys want actually fascism.
Yeah,
And so like to me that reflects an even bigger theme, right? It reflects that, it's no longer left versus right. It's totalitarianism versus freedom is what it is.
yeah. It's who was it that described it as like midnight is dictatorship, and six o'clock is freedom. Left and right isn't the right way to describe it because both of them can go down to the same point and they can both right. So it's like 6 p.m. is freedom. If you start going to the right, you will eventually go to dictatorship. If you start going to the left, you will also go to dictatorship. So it's not even a left right. So
Yeah.
Nazis were left. That's a fact. They were socialists. But Mussolini was a fascist. They're both the same pieces of shit. Like
Yeah.
it's not. So I don't think right versus left. Yeah, you're right. It's not a good, you know. It's like saying we can drop a uranium bomb on Hiroshima or a plutonium bomb on Nagasaki. It's like, dude, they're both nukes. Like,
Yeah, they're not good.
yeah, they're not good. But
Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's just the world is so like fucked right now. Like honestly, Tommy, I'm getting pre-war vibes like every day. Like I sit
so
and
I've been.
I look at where the world is at, and then I look at like pre-World War II or pre-World War One. I'm like, yeah, so we're right there. That's nice to know.
I said that last
Yeah.
week on the podcast that got taken down, Cross the Rubicon. I said that. I was like, when you're learning about World War One in middle school and high school, and you're going through the textbook, and you're like, oh, you see, right, the remnants of Otto von Bismarck, you see the Balkanization, the powder keg of Europe, and then of course you see Gavrilo Princip just walking on up and shooting Franz Ferdinand, and you're like, of course, that's how it happened, and then it just set off everything. And or you look at right before World War II, like right Hitler expansionism, the setup of KL, the death camp starting in like 33 or first communism camps, and then Lebensraum, living space Sudetenland. You see the expansionism, them Hitler becoming chancellor, and you see this thing growing, and you're like, oh, yeah, that thing was about to blow, right? You see all the you see all like the increasing chatter caught by the FBI and the CIA and the NSA in the months leading up to 2001, where they basically all knew something was coming, just no one knew where it was coming from. And you always look back and you're like, how did no one see that? That's what it feels like right now. Is you're like,
Yeah, yeah, it does. And
there's a,
I don't know why,
I don't,
man,
I
but
don't
like,
like it. I don't like it.
well, do you know of there's two countries in like the North Middle East that are fighting over water right now.
Really?
Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's really interesting. It's an interesting conflict because
Oh,
so
God.
you know how when human population grows, our water need grows, so we need more water for irrigate our crops, we need more water for plumbing.
Naturally.
And so like you have a lot of water scarcity. So there's like a couple countries that are kind of surrounded by these giant lakes up up in the Middle East towards Russia, I think. So it's kind of up in those mountain ranges or whatever.
Lake Baikal,
I don't remember the
the
names.
biggest lake in the world.
I'll have to like show you the information later. But it's like one country is damming it, so it's basically stealing the water from another country, and so everybody was calling it. Like everybody was calling it, like, oh yeah, these guys are about to go to fucking war. And guess what happened? And so I look at what China's doing, like to India, like they're damming a bunch of the rivers up in the Himalayas. It's gonna completely fuck India's ability to irrigate. It's gonna fuck their crops. They're not gonna be able to grow. So I look at that, dude, and like I'm looking at these patterns of like these countries just fucking with each other. Like, uh,
And an election being stolen, like blatantly
mm,
stolen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I try not to think about that because that was too close to home, you know.
You
So
gotta
I,
think about it, right? You gotta take your head out of the sand, man. Hey, dude, I'm guilty of it too. Yeah, I just want to unplug, and I'm like, everything's good,
uh,
everything's
yeah,
good.
dude. I'm see my whole philosophy is like I know it's happening, but like I throw it at the back of my mind because I'm like I don't want to think about it. Like I don't want to have to kill my best friend in a couple months. Like you know
I
what
don't
I
want to have
mean?
to kill my best friend and eat his dog over an open spit fire, but like, hey, man,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm just gonna throw it in the back of my head, and I'm gonna act like the election hasn't been stolen. And because the other part of me, man, it goes, okay, so when Trump got elected in 2016, the left thought it would be the end of the United States. It's not the case. So like, I look at Biden, I'm like, okay, I think that
I,
Biden's the end of the United States.
I have to go pee again.
I don't think it's gonna be the case.
Me
Yeah.
neither. And I really want to touch on that point, but I have to go pee again because I drink a lot of water. I don't know
Okay, I
why.
gotta go pee too. So.
Well, you know what, everybody? Think for 30 seconds about the impending war. And we are back. We are back. We are back like a heart attack. Heroin and genocide. Fuck, I need. I'll make a separate video for that. I need to make some notes. Some notes. Well, I guess I can just record it now. I mean, I fucking guess I could. No, I'll do it later. I don't know. I need to find out how to use Dropbox because I want to start uploading the library to there so people can find it. I'll do that later. That'll be a separate thingy. Um, yeah, and I like where your head's at because that's one thing I've been trying to use too. Is my own sanity. Is I'm like they thought the nation was over. My friends were losing their. My liberal friends were like buy ammo, but it wasn't just like a I don't like this guy, he sucks. It was like they were legitimately like uncomfortable, like they were like canceling social events. They were like I need to start saving money for war. And I was like, look, you don't have to like the guy, but I was like it's not war. Like just yeah, sure you don't like him. He's probably going to piss you off. Just live your life. And they're like this isn't a normal election. They're like this is war. And I remember thinking I was like, man, they have been so brainwashed. Because here I am just going to the gym, just fucking going to the store, like working or doing renovation in an apartment for a job, and I was like, it's not. Where are the bombers? Where are the? And because I would like to think of myself as a rational human being, I I I force myself to take that stance where I'm like, hey, half the country isn't freaking out. They're just they're like, hey, Trump lost, and I'm like, okay, is this just me giving into the same madness? Orange man bad, Biden man bad. Perhaps this is the limits of my human evolution that I truly am convinced that Biden is bad, that this was a CCP takeover, and that I'm freaking out. But a part of my brain is like, hey, like, look in the mirror. Like, is this some hypocrisy? Am I being a hypocrite? The world's over. It's like, no, dude, your guy just didn't win. But at the same time, like, what does your gut tell you? Regardless of whether or not they freaked out over Trump, just let's remove that from the equation. They thought the world was over, whatever. What does your gut tell you about this incident? Isolate it from everything else and just look at it with a sober mind. I watched one guy win, and then I watched everything flip in swing states the next morning. It seems a little hairy. Over 1,000 sworn affidavits. Sworn affidavit is. I'm an idiot. I didn't learn this till like a month ago. I'm 30. Means that you're willing to give the same testimony under oath. Penalty of lying is going to jail. So these are people that have said, over 1,000, over 1,000 sworn affidavits. There's been over 8 court cases, all of them thrown out, so they won't even hear the cases. We know Dominion voting machines had ties to Venezuela. We know they found out 2 days ago the Internet of Things (IoT) that they actually found this like microchip in the Dominion voting machines, which aren't supposed to have any internet connectivity. They're just supposed to be these machines. They found them with these like super tiny micro SD size Wi-Fi uh, broadcasters. And where did they find that it went to? It broadcasted to the thermostat in the room, which also had one of these. And Giuliani announced this last night. So their NSA guys went back and looked at it, looked at the code, looked at all shit that I can't understand, but the cyber forensic prints, and they found that it went directly back to a region in China. And it's like, dude, this is some Hollywood blockbuster shit happening.
I don't want to think about it, man.
And trust me, dude, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. But if I may take this to like a more serious and like not trying to like not laugh because I'm with you. I'm just like I just want to jerk off. I just want to eat cookies. Like I just right. That's where my mind is. But it's true. But I also I have some real world experience where from like 2010 to 2014 I started to notice that like my older brother was drinking more. He was he was getting more tight-lipped about things. He wasn't, opening up about like, do you need to go to therapy? Is everything okay? Like grades failing, doing poorly in life. And I was like, "Hey, something's actually wrong. Like this is now going on for years. This isn't like a month where your friend's depressed because his girlfriend dumped him." And it was for years, and I was like, I need to look at this more. And a lot of times I would just put my head in the sand and I'd be like, he's fine. Life's just, dishing him a bad hand. And then in April 2014, he killed himself. And so there's a part of me that has seen firsthand that like sometimes it really does turn into something horrible. And what's the red pill that like I don't want to swallow? Of course, therapists say, your family says that there's nothing you could do, it's a disease. It is. But I mean, let's be realists. Like there's something I could have done. There's something I could have done. And that's just no, I don't dwell on it. I don't carry that cross every day, and I don't let it destroy my life. But the reality is something could have been done. He was an intelligent guy doing postgraduate research at Georgia Tech with a beautiful girlfriend. Like something could have been done, and I didn't do it. And I'm not saying it's all my fault, but there's something I didn't do, and that's a fact. That's not a woe is me. That's a reality. So not to like bring this heavy on Christmas Eve, but like I have seen in my life this thing where like
You don't think it could happen to
you
you,
just
right?
go, it's not, it's bad, but I'm just fucking, and it goes on for years. And for years, we've been being told for years, there's a war coming, there's the rising China, it's this thing happening. They're going to try to steal an election, and Trump all year, they're going to use this for mail-in ballots. There's going to be fraud, and it's like, it's this thing that, like, unfortunately, I have firsthand experience where it's because a lot of times when you just put your head in the sand, the thing actually does kind of resolve itself. You're like, oh, it worked out, and you're like, woo, whew, brush that one off, right? It just kind of goes away. But I've also seen where the thing happens, and now here I am 6 years later, and it's still impacting my life and my family's life. It's Christmas, dude. I can't help but be sad because my brother's not here. Like and it's so part of me is like I was forced to take that red pill suppository up the ass with like an air cannon, no lube. And that's why I can't really just go, it's not happening. China's not happening. It's not here. It's not here. This didn't happen. We're going to win in 2024. Part of me is like, hey, man, I've seen where this goes. And so ultimately, looking back on it, you have to realize that either it's kind of like that dieting quote, either suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret. Either way, you have to suffer, so choose it. Or that other quote, change now before you're change. Uh, what is it? Change your life before you're forced to change your life. Basically, choose to make moves before you're forced to make moves. And I can't help but look at all this. And so my brother, suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret. I should have just suffered the pain of like it's uncomfortable, but like I really need to talk to you. Like I need to have my parents sit down with them and like, hey, let's we can't keep sweeping this under the rug. Like I think you should go to therapy. I don't like where your head's at. I don't. It's just been several years. And I avoided it because why? It's a very uncomfortable conversation. The only times we would ever all be together were holidays. Like I don't want to ruin a holiday by being like, and so I avoided it. But now I had to deal with the worst thing, right? I had to deal with it's paying back a loan of $100,000, paying it back in cash, or paying it back in interest over 30 years. You end up paying $250,000. Like you got to pay anyway. So I look at it as like the tax man's coming. Do we address this now and fight this monster now? That they're not at the gates; they're inside the gates. They've bought up Hollywood. They have
Oh
board
yeah,
members and corporations.
CCP, man. They're in every level of the government now. I mean,
They
you
are
have that
here.
congressman from California that slept with the
S-
spy. I mean,
Swalwell, that fucking
yeah.
faggot.
I mean, yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
like
you
to
wa-
be
you,
real, like
you want to turn it
it's
off. You don't want
it's
to think about
not good. Like I just I don't know, man. For me, it's like my family has been having a really hard time.
it.
My
Yeah,
dad can barely walk. He
yeah,
can't work,
yeah.
and he has bills to pay, and then I have
You got school. You're doing research. You're trying to get into grad school. Like you don't have
yeah,
time to fight the CCP. Like yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's just to me, it's like it's another thing on the shit list of things that I really don't want to see happen.
yeah,
And so until like it's really blatant, then I'll
yeah.
start.
Yeah.
fighting it or whatever. But like right now, man, like I guess you're a lot stronger than me, man. Because like if my brother were to kill himself, I would be in shambles for decades probably. Like I wouldn't be able to bring my pants up.
Yeah, it took about 5 years of that. I'm honestly surprised I survived. But like, but the point is like I get what you're saying, man. Same thing with my like. I don't want to deal with this. Like, I'm trying to get into med school, man. Like, you know how competitive this is. Like, I got my own girl problems. I'm trying to do this, and it's like I don't have time to go fucking go, pull this together and try to get him to the therapy. Because what if he's not even that sick? What if this is just a phase? What? And it's like you don't want to look at, right now the podcast is making money. Like this is the dream. It's finally making money. Like I don't have to work at a liquor store anymore. I'm talking to a really hot girl. Like it's Christmas. Tomorrow's Christmas. Like it's like look at my job, dude. I choose my guests.
Yeah.
And I just talk about whatever I want to talk about. Cold War, aliens, titties. That's my job. I make money doing that. And do you know what I do when I have an author that I have to have on, whose book I listen to? Is I mute video games and I play Xbox for 12 hours and I knock out their book. That's my hard day. When I have to, everything's great. I don't want to go fucking fight World War III, man. It's like
Yeah, I don't want to have to go
I
fight
don't
those
want to.
spear. That would be the deadliest war in human history. Is a problem for me,
It's
man.
World War
Like it
Three.
would,
There's no way around it. It's World War.
yeah, it would make World War II look like a playing in the park. Basically,
Yeah, it's
it would make it look like a fucking baseball game. Is the thing, and
yeah.
I just, man,
I'm
I
with
just hope and pray that we're on a good path. If there is a God, and I hope He's protecting us because we're gonna need it because there are some evil motherfuckers in the world.
2020 has literally from like birth till like eighth grade. I was a Catholic. From like 16 to like 24, I was an atheist. From like 24 to 29, I was agnostic. I'm full on like back and like I don't necessarily believe in like a Roman Catholic God that kind of looks like a white guy with long hair. Like seems a little bit seems a little Nazi to me. Just or whatever. You're in the Middle East and Muhammad it looks like you.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
necessarily think it's a human form, but I have fully gone back into 2020 believing in a God. I don't necessarily believe in Christ or Allah or Buddha or whatever. I have I fully believe in a God again because to not is insanity. And I'm not saying that everyone that doesn't believe in God you're insane. I mean for me personally, I
It's
have to
insane not to.
even if I
Yeah.
just have to lie to myself until I believe it. Because what's the alternative? Is life really is just this evil? We're just on this rock alone in the universe, a communist takeover, and we're all going to gulags. Like, hit me with the microchip, harvest my organs, and it's over. Is that it? So it's like it really helped talking to Charlie Duke, the guy that walked on the moon that I had on this podcast. Shout out Tommy's podcast for having a guy that walked on the moon. Joe Rogan hasn't done that yet. Come at me. Come at me, dick cheese. I love you, Rogan. Um, Not that he's concerned, but he talked about how, like all the astronauts were former pilots, and and those pilots were the best pilots. So it was always like if you want to be a test pilot, you know, doing things like the X-15 or the SR-71, you had to be the best of the best. That's where the saying comes from, the right stuff. You just got it. Chucky Yeager, rest in peace, had the right stuff, break the sound barrier. Um, and then the best of those went on to become astronauts. So it truly was the apex of like an aviation career. And then not only that, the best of those went to the fucking moon. It is the ultimate. It's winning the Super Bowl times 1,000. And Charlie Duke talked about that. But then what? You come home and it's like there is no higher rung to climb. You did it. You did it. And it's not a Super Bowl where you can maybe go get another one. You did it. You walked on the moon. There's nothing else. And he stayed at NASA for a couple of years. or I believe more than a couple years. He started helping on like the shuttle program, and I was like, this is cool. But he talks about how he started drinking more. He started talking about how he was a bad father because he would be like, well, how come you're not perfect like me? Like I was the best of the best, you know. I was America's boy. I went to the moon. Talks about how his marriage was failing, and then finally he was like, Ed, he's like, I just kind of first kind of like what I said. He's like, my own sanity. I just turned. He happened to choose like Christianity, but what he said is he turned to God, and he was like, because I just felt so like, what am I doing now? There's nothing to do. And he talks about how like his life became immeasurably better when he started just like believing in God. He said his marriage became he said he became a wonderful father. He made up with his children and like was in their lives. This is still in their lives. Mr. Duke's still alive. Became a wonderful father, supportive in all their endeavors. Stopped drinking. Like he and his wife, like they started going around and giving talks, and it was like something they worked on together. Said it like saved his marriage, and it made him just like a better Like the fact that he's still alive and is in like good health and mental faculty is testament to that. But hearing him talk about that, I kind of found a lot of purpose in that because I was like, here's a dude that's not like, well, after I got done shooting heroin, I decided that like I found God, and it's like, good for you, but at the same time, like I can't relate to that. This is like here's a guy that achieved. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, they haven't walked on the moon. Elon Musk might, but like no, these other like, no one has achieved what he did, and he kind of felt empty after it, and that's what I kind of feel like is like what if I monetize the podcast? What if I get a hot girlfriend? What if, what if the podcast blows up? What if I have millions of subscribers? What if, and then like the CCP's at the gates and it's like, like, well, I don't want to fight. I just want to party. I just want to, and not to quote Optimus Prime from Transformers 2, but fate rarely calls on us at a time of our choosing.
It's true.
And it's like, dude, do you know how many guys probably just finished college, just got their apprenticeship, and like just got a wife, and then Pearl Harbor happened, and they're like, dude, dude, and it was like, and they looked at it and they're like, dog, we're gonna have to go fight in World War II. A lot of their dads fought in World War One, and just like you said, they're like, this is gonna be the deadliest war ever. We're gonna have to go fucking storm the beaches in Normandy. We're probably not
Yeah.
gonna survive.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Like when it comes down to it and the draft is going, like I'm not gonna sit there with anxiety waiting for them to pull my fucking ticket. I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna go kill some fucking gooks because
I
I
love it.
think it's hella fucked up what they're doing to Christians, let alone what they're doing to the Uyghurs there.
Yeah.
And I just think that they deserve freedom.
That's what Ken Moffat said, the Vietnam vet I had on, who's in military police. No, Captain Albrock, who got the like 3 silver stars in Vietnam, and he might get a Medal of Honor. He goes, I'm not gonna sit around hoping they don't call my number. He just wanted enlisted and was like, fuck it, let's do this. I'm with you, man. That's what it comes to. Nut up, you know.
Yeah,
Just fucking do
yeah. You don't want those. Yeah, I mean, China is modern day Nazi Germany. They are.
it. They're worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for analogy though,
They have, yeah,
they are worse.
but dude, they
They're
have.
worse than the fucking Soviet Union, and those guys were fucking worse than Nazis.
Yeah,
So
dude, they have 10 times they have more than that. They have like 100 times the population in Nazi Germany. They've got like 1,000 times the wealth.
well, they're effective too. They're
They're
strategically like they know their history. It's
they're not
dumb.
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hitler was a flash in the pan.
Yeah, and the Soviets were so hell bent on ideology. The Chinese aren't.
No,
They're playing to
they
win.
they are Gen 3, right? Gen 1 was Hitler. Gen 2 is USSR. They are they are the iPhone 10. Like they are refined.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm gonna try to enjoy Christmas. Enjoy my pagan holiday and
Then in the meantime, I'm gonna try not to fuck.
have some rice pudding and
A
hug
year
my
ago,
sister and my mom.
you know, if we could go back and look at our podcast a year ago and be like, hey man, You guys are in for a little bit of a doozy.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I'd believe myself, man. I'd be
No,
like,
that's brutal.
no, Doran, you finally lost your screws. You knew there was something inside that little box of head of yours, and it was gonna come out sometime, and
Yeah, it was.
apparently it just came out last
You
year.
were gonna lose your brain eventually, but now, And sorry, I know you. We'll wrap this up in 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
We'll end at 4:20.
Yeah,
But
I gotta go help my pop outside.
yeah,
He's trying to make a box for my brother for Christmas, and he
okay,
needs me to help him move wood.
I got you.
So,
Um, so I've been thinking about this. Let's go out on a note of positivity. I've been thinking about what Ed Snowden said about turnkey tyranny. All right, turnkey tyranny is this system that the NSA has been. It's not like actual operate. It's not called turnkey tyranny like trademark. It's the system that the NSA built up to hear anyone anywhere, from Bob down the street to the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee to the vice president to the chief of DARPA. Their ability to hear and see and collect it all. It is the all-seeing eye. Every image, every soundbite, everything. They have it all. Traffic cameras, ATM cameras, McDonald's receipts, they have it all. It is a god tier system. And what he warned about, and it's why he disclosed all that information, Echelon, Stellar Wind, etc., X key score, was because there may not necessarily be an evil guy now. Now, asterisk, at the time was Obama. Sure, not a peaceful dude, but I mean, all things considered, not necessarily worse than most people. And I know there's going to be some people that don't like that, but like, he's not Hitler, okay? Just like Trump's not Hitler, he wasn't Hitler. The concern is what happens when a truly evil person gets behind that turnkey. They get into the driver's seat. Everything leads to them. And not only that, they're also the commander in chief of the most powerful military in the world. They are given control of God mode in a video game. And that's why he came out. But I began thinking about this 2 days ago, and it's really helped my sanity. Why do we assume the person that gets in charge is evil? That power is apathetic. It is indifferent. It is turnkey tyranny. It doesn't mean it's necessarily evil. We've all assumed it's evil because of past leaders. But I began thinking, what if a good person got into that driver's seat? They
yeah,
could, with turnkey tyranny, they could inflict positivity and hope and true reform and good. And no one would be able to stop them, because the whole thing about it is no one can stop them. And we're all scared of what happens if a bad guy gets it. But what happens if a good guy gets the gun? And that's been giving me some hope lately, is like, what if a good person was in charge? What if it happened? They would be able to stomp everyone.
they would, yeah.
So a year ago, if you had told us everything that happened, we would say it is unimaginably bad. And where does the mind immediately go? In a year, we come back and talk to us right now. What's the first thing you think of? Is they're going to tell us even more shit about how bad it is. But what if it's the opposite? It's not that necessarily bad things happened. It's just that something, it's like an absolute value of a number, 10 or negative 10. The absolute value is 10. So the absolute value between our first episode and this year is negative. COVID, forest fires, fucking stealing the election, riots, BLM, right? George Floyd. Horrible shit has happened.
Yeah,
Why can't the next year be radical change, but in a good direction? Why
that's
can't we in a
true.
year come back and be like, these guys have no idea that the best year in human history is about to happen? With the same level of disbelief, we'd say, Duran, you finally lost it. You had some screws loose and it finally. Why can't the same thing happen? Why can't, how come a year from now we can't be going, who would have thought that we we made world peace? We destroyed cancer. We unlocked fusion energy, that we could effectively desalinate the world's oceans at will, and thus there was no need for water. There was no water scarcity. Why can't that same change happen in a year? You know, in a matter of weeks, I decided not to go to medical school and I lost a brother to suicide. Just like that, my norm shifted. In a matter of weeks, I went from working at a liquor store to podcasting full time and making money. It's still an absolute value of just radical change. How come in a year we can't be looking back and going like, these guys have no idea that they are about to enter the golden age? These poor fucks. Look at them moping around thinking that they're going to have to go fight the CCP and this is my last Christmas. They have no idea that heaven is about to come to earth.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, it definitely can just turn around, and
And
hopefully it does.
why does the radical change have to be negative? You flip a coin, do you dread it landing on tails? No, there's an equal chance it lands on heads. Why? Why does the negative change? Why does that change have to be negative?
That's true, man.
And to
That's
anyone
true.
listening saying, well, it's probably going to be negative. Well, then if that's the case, that's what it was going to be. Why not at least fucking try to be positive?
Yeah,
So let's leave this on a good note. And a year from now is going to be the best goddamn year. It's going to be hilariously good. It's going to be all the 2020 memes. There are going to be 2021 memes where everything is just like, it's just, it's cheesy how good it is, right? It's cheesy how good it is. It's like, really, right? I know I gotta let you go, but it's like the Red Sox finally winning the first World Series in 86 years in 2004. If someone wrote that, it would be cheesy. They go down 3 games to the New York Yankees in the ALCS. They go down 3 games. No team has ever come back from 3 games down. And then they win four, and then they win four straight and bulldoze St. Louis and Albert Pujols to win a championship. Like, that is some, if you wrote that, it would be a shitty Disney movie. If Tom Brady came back 28-3 in the third quarter and won a Super Bowl, that would be a shitty Disney movie. Why can't 2021 be a shitty Disney movie?
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, man. Hopefully things just get better. Then we can all drink eggnog and laugh about it.
I'll drink eggnog and laugh about it as we make contact with the galactic civilization and there's world peace. Let's
Yeah.
fucking do it. Let's fucking do it. That's what I'm focusing my mind on. Because
All right.
why focus on the negative? But go help your
Yeah.
dad. Merry Christmas,
Merry
Duran,
Christmas, man.
Dick Cheese.
Have a good one.
You too. And hey, everybody, go check it out on Rumble and BitChute and all that good stuff. Love each other and focus on the positive, but don't be afraid to go fight the commies because that's what Santa would do.
That's what Santa would do.
God damn right he would. All right, man.
See
Take
ya.
it easy, buddy.